Yoga props can make some poses more accessible, but they can also make some easy poses harder. So they're not just for beginners or people who find it difficult to touch their toes. I don't include props very often in my online classes because I never know what people have at home. But you can get creative with your use of props and don't be afraid to use them. Sometimes the ego gets in the way and we think, I shouldn't need to use a block for this pose. I should be able to do it without. But perhaps that's the wrong way to look at props. Sometimes when you use a prop, it suddenly makes the pose feel completely different. And we might have that aha moment. And the prop really helps to open up the pose or access it in a different way. Every body is different. In fact, props also give us space in a pose to focus on other things, not just holding our body in an awkward pose. They give us a chance to bring the attention back to the breath, for example. Often in group classes, we might use a block, a yoga strap, a soft pad for kneeling poses. Less often, we might use blankets or bolsters. You might have a yoga wheel at home, or you might use a chair to support you in standing poses like tree pose, or in a forward fold if your back feels the strain. There are lots of creative ways you can use props, not just the obvious ones. You can use a block to bring the ground closer to you in a forward fold. But you can also use it to engage your inner thighs in wheel or bridge pose. One of my favorite yin poses is supported bridge, with a couple of blocks piled up to support the back of the pelvis. A block or a cushion can be really useful in any seated pose, especially if you find there's a challenge for your hip flexors, your core, your pelvis, or your lower back. A block or a cushion can encourage the pelvis to tilt forwards, helping the spine to lengthen and make sitting upright feel more accessible. We can use a strap as an extension of the arms in Supta Padangusthasana, reclined hand to foot pose. But you can also use it to help engage the upper body and shoulders in Warrior 3 or standing hand to foot pose. And if you don't have a strap, you can grab your dressing gown cord. A blanket can be used to support the shoulders in a shoulder stand, but it can also be used as a slide, helping you to strengthen the core. And of course, having the weight of a blanket over you in Shavasana sometimes feels great. A chair seems a pretty innocuous tool to use as a prop, but it can be used really simply. For example, to make downward facing dog more acceptable, taking the strain out of the wrists, or to take the lower back strain out of the forward fold and give you a chance to focus on extending along the spine. Or it can be used to make inverted poses more accessible, stabilizing the shoulders. Some days we don't want props, and other days we do. So listen to your body as you practice, and always remember to make your practice feel good. And if that means grabbing a block or a blanket today, then go for it. Here are some examples just using a yoga strap, dressing gown cord, and a couple of blocks. Just remember that it's possible to get much deeper into some poses using props. So, for example, be aware of any feelings in your lower back in forward bends, and don't be tempted to pull yourself into a pose too deeply unless that feels good. So listen to your body. But also bear in mind that there can be huge benefits to holding some of those poses for longer, but with gentle pressure. Again, just listen to your body. In Janu Shasana, sitting on a block helps you to tilt the pelvis forwards so you can lengthen the spine as you reach forward towards the extended foot. In a standing leg extension, you can use the strap to support the foot and allow you to put some pressure forwards into the heel while at the same time relaxing your shoulders, but try not to be tempted to pull back on the strap just to get your leg a little bit higher. We could use a strap to open the shoulders in gate pose, which sometimes feels really good, especially if you're spending a lot of time sitting in front of a computer and your shoulders start to feel tired. We can use a strap to support Warrior 3 and engage the low back and the shoulders, make the pose a little bit more accessible. Somehow engaging the core and the low back enables the balance to come more easily sometimes too. And perhaps using the 2 blocks with bridge as a nice final pose in a practice would feel really good. Resting in this sort of yin pose for a minute or two, and just allowing the blocks to help you find extension in the lower back as you relax the body. And if you find you start to get irritated in the low back, then maybe just taking a block away. Perhaps you've just gone a little bit too high. So, however you use your props, play with them, experiment with them, but don't be afraid to use them. Namaste.